welcome. It's me, Briny Rosewood, I'm the Vin Library. Hello, everybody. Hello, Benjamin. Hello, Noble Size Phantom. Hello, Nimby. Hello, Any Lookers. Hello, Any Bodders. I think I left Twitch in emote jail again. There we go. Twitch is out of emote jail. Sorry, Twitch. I keep doing that. Hello. It's real. I'm here. And guess what I did today? I saw some dead bodies. I went to a museum today. I saw many dead bodies. There were mummies. Real people mummies. There were some very traumatized looking children, and I don't blame them. It was fun. I had a good time. I saw some dinosaur bones and some mummies and many things. It was really good. Mummies or mommies? Both. There were a lot of families, so both. I thought it was just something you normally see in North England. Nah, we clean up the bodies after we do things. After you murder, you clean up the body. No body, no crime. You know? No body, no crime. That's how you deal with it. But today, I had a good time. I had a very good time today. It was a lovely bank holiday. Wasn't too busy. Well, I was a bit busy, but not too many kids. Because the weather was naff. We were like, I want to go out and do something today. But like, can't go anywhere that's gonna might rain on you. And museums are great. You're indoors. You don't have to pay to go in. You see a lot of cool stuff. It's great stuff. No body, no crime. Spoken like a true legal expert. Yeah! Where did you go on your bank holiday? Where did the bank go on holiday? Oh, where did the bank go on holiday? I think it goes to Spain. I don't know. Somewhere sunny, probably. That's how it works. Everyone in the bank goes on holiday on the same day, so all the banks get closed, and that's bank holiday. I forget that bank holidays aren't something that are just everywhere. It's like Golden Week in Japan bank holidays. Except it's like spread out over the year rather than just 1 week. Bank pool? Oh heck yeah, they go to bank pool and get crazy. Bank pool illuminations, ever heard of those? That's supposed to be a pun on Blackpool, but it works! I got it! I got what you were meaning, don't you worry. Pun successful. Pun successful. And a wonderful pun that it was. But anyway, it's reading time again. Are you ready for part 2 of The Protector by Trent? I thought Bankpool was a Deadpool variant who works at a bank. Why not both? Maybe Bankpool does work at a bank, but he's also the one employee that gets put in charge of the annual holidays to Bankpool. But he also makes bank on Bankpool because it's named after him, because it's his city. He is a mayor and a bank worker all at the same time. That's a very Deadpool thing to do. Our Deadpool OC is a wild guy. He's a busy man to run those things at once. We know and fear the power of Bankpool. You know who else we know and fear the power of? Mr. Corwin. So let's recap a little. Ryan Reynolds' most difficult role to date. Yeah. Slight recap. So, our protagonist, Zane, is going to a prestigious school with a rich heiress because he may or may not legally belong to said family, even though they're like, but we didn't buy you, but we definitely own you, kind of thing. And he's being sent in basically as her bodyguard to this prestigious school, but they both cheated to get in because they had like the smarter sibling do the tests for them, and the place is like, yeah, we call quite a lot of bullshit on your answers. You're going to the remedial class, and in the remedial class, it is led by Mr. Corwin, who is also a demon like Zane, and he seems very, very angry and very, very mean. So we shall see what becomes of this. Let's read. Corwin stood up, his leather boots echoing off the floorboard as he approached the seated Zane, his single eye focusing on the white in Zane's damaged one. Their auras competed against each other, trying to unravel the secrets held within the facility of their minds. Neither was winning. Is this Colin talking? I can't remember what voice I gave him. Basically Sky High, but demons? I don't believe anyone was forced to attend Sky High as a bodyguard, right? That's a little different. But a little bit. If as a supernatural school, yes, I suppose. But now they're having a demon aura off. They're aura farming each other. It takes great effort for a demon to master control over darkness. It takes great control for a demon to resist being taken over by the darkness he's held onto for so long. Corwin looked down at the palm of his hand, raised white lines etched into his skin as a permanent reminder, not as if his lack of a second arm and a second eye weren't already consistent reminders of his past. Most demons can't keep their power under lock and key with strict discipline and training. In time, it allows them to become stronger than any human or angel. But you don't have a lock. You've been burying it inside. I imagine the few times it's taken over in the moments of vulnerability. The simple fact that you haven't killed dozens in a rampage is astounding. Unless... He raised a single eyebrow at Zane, his mocking tone one of a cruel nature. You already have, and your rich owners have covered it up. Math, science, English now. The most important magic class is aura farming! It sounds like it's genuinely very important for demons to control their auras. If they can't farm aura, then what are they? Zane's eyes pierced into Corwin like daggers. His instincts told him to violently throw his detractor through the window to his untimely death. But that would just prove his point and likely wouldn't have the desired effect. I have people who can stop me. What point are you trying to prove? Because from what I can tell, your goal is simply trying to piss me off. Zane muttered in a low monotone, his piercing stare threatening to break Corwin in half and proving that he is in fact succeeding in pissing him off. You have people who can stop you, or just one. Because if that girl who struts around believing she's important isn't in the same room as you, and the darkness decides to crawl into your heart, what then? Who stops you then? Zane gritted his teeth at the infuriating line of questioning. I meant to stay by her side at all times, so that won't happen, Colin scoffed. Listen, boy, we know that won't always be the case. My point is that if you are incapable of wielding the abilities all demons are meant to, you need tutelage and guidance to do so. It will only aid in being a better servant. I am not a servant! Zane stood out of his seat, face coming close to Corwin. I gave him a little peck on the cheek. Absolutely not, but what if? But no, that would be toxic. That's a student-teacher relationship. No, you can't be doing that. You can't be doing that. But we can, just to destroy any drama. Sorry. Attempting to size up the fellow demon, their auras were clashing even still, and despite his defiance, Zane was starting to lose. Then what are you, boy? Corwin scowled, not backing down from his challenge. However, he didn't follow up with some demeaning insult or further deconstruction of his life, but he waited for a response. I'm a protector, Corwin smirked, rubbing his chin with his hand once more. Can't believe Brian is already writing her a problematic / mick. Yay! And we know it's problematic. I was there in the yaoi days and the citrus scale and the... Then learning how to wield your powers properly will only help you protect those you care about. Perhaps I could be of some assistance there. I knew this! He seems so mean, but he's actually like, look at this fucking runt of a demon. Look at this little shit. If I don't teach him, no one will. This is my son now. I've had Zane for 1 day, and if anything happened to him... Zane's thoughts churned as he grappled with the unexpected turn of events. Why would you help me? Because if your power, unleashed, as you so put it, and your... He held back from using a more vulgar description and sighed. If Yulia was not present to help calm you, you may hurt the innocent. You appear to have grown up secluded, so maybe you hurt people. Maybe you didn't. But in this college, where hundreds of people are walking around every day, that is a risk neither I nor the principal can accept. So, what are you suggesting? You want to teach me how to control it? Corwin nodded subtly. Precisely. I intend to keep you behind for an hour every day for lessons here. I expect 6 months will be more than enough time to help you keep it under lock and key. Zane was critical of Corwin's offer. This was a bafflingly different exchange compared to what he expected. This teacher had been a thorn in his side all day with the jabs at his predicament being a servant. Yet, he was extending such a unique offer. It was understandable, both in the means of keeping the staff and students safe, as well as allowing two demons to openly interact and share knowledge of their power. And what of Yulia? Like I said, it is expected that I stay with her at all times. And, as I said, you know that's impossible, especially with how the dorms are arranged. At all times that I am able, I will take the same classes as her if I must. It's what I'm here to do, Zane announced robotically, as if recounting a statement that had been drilled into his head. Colin smirked. Right, you're a protector, of course. You need to be with her. He didn't sound impressed, rather he was just amused. If it is that important that you remain with her, then I'll work something out. While he wasn't sure what Corwin meant, Zane found some relief in knowing that he could continue to do his task whilst under Corwin's tutelage. If everything he said was true, then being able to use his powers to its fullest extent would only prove useful in the long run. Not only to protect Yulia, but also to fully explore what it meant to be a demon. Do you agree? I cannot force you, of course, but the consequences for lethal harm of another on these grounds would be dire. Corwin's words were laced with a stern venom. It wasn't only a warning, it was a brutal truth. Zane took everything Corwin told him and bottled it up inside, deep in endless thought and consideration. He needed time. Just as he couldn't choose a title in seconds, he couldn't hastily run into this blindly. He already had power, as unconventional as it was, so perhaps learning how to control it, that which naturally flowed within him, would be beneficial. Even still, hasty decisions have only been troubled in the past. I'll give you an answer tomorrow. Yulia didn't know what to say to this quiet boy who kept a good distance from her. No words had been spoken between them. Even if he could speak, she had the feeling he would choose not to. It was easy to tell that Nirav wouldn't want to be showing her around the college grounds, whether that was because he was a lazy, uncaring individual or despised the Edera family like so many others. She didn't know. He certainly seemed to be the type who coasted through life without much thought or care. Hello, Tyler. Happy Monday indeed. Happy Bank Holiday Monday if you're in the UK. Considering his lack of effort put into the entrance exam. Yulia didn't care about his point of view or reasoning, however. She did admit to herself that she was slightly curious. Today is in fact the last day of August. It is September tomorrow. The kids are going back to school, finally! There's been far too many families in the sandwich shop and I dislike it. Although, I did get a wonderful review from a small child at work. The sandwich I made was 100 out of 100. Best sandwich she's ever had, apparently. She's like 6. Nearly 7, apparently, according to her. Very cute kid. She just really wanted to talk to like literally anyone who'd respond to her, and I don't like ignoring kids. I feel like I should always respond to a kid who just wants to talk. So she's like, hello, and I'm like, hello, my name's so and so, what's your name? I'm Bryony, how are you? No, it was very good. Those kids have had far too much fun for far too long. Yes! Put them back in school. Educate them. Get them reading books. So many books. Make them do reports on the books to prove they have read them. But make sure it's something weird. Like The Crucible. Or Shakespeare. Or that Mice and... No. Lord of the Flies! I don't know why I was thinking Mice and Men of Lord of the Flies. Lord of the Flies! That was another big one that kept being used. Always gotta be an oldie. An oldie, but maybe not a goodie, depending on your point of view. At the very least, curious about why he put 0 effort in the exam, but still bothered to even come to the college. Despite being told to give her a tour, all Nirav ended up doing was walking past the oval, the gymnasium, and the market, briefly pointing at them, expecting Yulia to understand what they were, and then moving on almost immediately. She paid attention to where everything was, but walking with her long dress made it annoying. Her dress brushed over the rocky, dirty ground when she didn't lift it slightly. Crucible, Shakespeare, Moon Girl Chronicles by Brady Smith. No, I don't know if the kids would learn anything from my writing. No, they should have more challenging books than mine. Mine aren't very challenging. Watching Yulia hold her dress up partly to avoid it getting dirtier, Nirav gave a sidelong glance before pulling out his notebook for the first time and dotting down a few words. Jotting? Does it mean jotting there? You may want to wear something more casual. Yulia's face scrunched as she read the note, peering up and down at Nirav at what he considered to be casual. A tattered shirt and sun-worn jean pants, accompanied by a blue jean jacket that was most definitely too large for him. What, like you? Her question was coated with sarcasm, but her eyes lingering on Nirav implied she wanted a response of some manner. He jotted down a few words before showing her his notepad again. It's not my first choice, but it was comfortable. So dress like I've been given hand-me-downs my whole life. Got it? Yulia scoffed, looking away to a nearby water fountain, approaching it on a whim. Nirav's only retort was a raised eyebrow. He followed along to the water fountain, where Yulia knelt forward, pressed the button, and let the water spray out, but smelt it rather than drinking from it. Ugh, it smells metallic. Nirav tapped on the metal sink with his knuckle, implying that the smell was obvious due to the sink and piping. Yeah, look, I know it's obvious. It just doesn't smell clean. Nirav looked from the sink to the piping, following it up to a nearby cylindrical tank made to collect rainwater. He felt like he could write down that it was rainwater and should be safe, but he couldn't be bothered. Instead, he elected to lean over the fountain and drink from it himself. Yulia! Hello, 100 American bison. That's a lot of bison. I hope you can find a good space to sit. At the sound of her name, she turned around to see Zane approaching with his hands in his pockets. Nirav finished his drink and stood up to look at the demon, still somewhat slouched. What did the one-eyed asshole want with you? Zane kept his focus on the human boy, his head tilting slightly as if he were a robot scanning for data. After a moment, he looked at Yulia and answered her question. He knew that I didn't have complete control over my power. He made a point that I could potentially hurt someone, at least by accident. His eyes quickly darted to Narav as if sending him a warning. So because of how much of a risk I am, he offered to teach me how to control it properly. Really? That's quite interesting. You would be even more of a threat if you could control both the darkness and your You can leave now, he said bluntly at Narav, cutting Yulia off abruptly, which caused her to pout. Narav stared at him with some confusion in his eyes, wondering what he had done to be dismissed so suddenly. He felt like he should say something, so he retrieved his notepad from his pocket and jotted down a few words. Do you need a tour as well? Zane muttered the words as he read the note. Whilst there was no doubt Yulia could show him the way, he had a feeling in his gut that she wouldn't want to. It would be good to know just how big this place is, if he actually knows what everything is. It would be quicker than scouting by myself. As well, the girl at the service station asked if I could show her around. Hello, Toby. Welcome. Oh my god, if his superpower was a fluffy tail, I'd be so happy. Maybe tomorrow. Today's already lasted too long. Nirav quickly scribbled another note and handed it to Zane, turning on his heel and walking away. See you tomorrow, I guess. The amount of uncertainty present in a handwritten note was baffling to Zane. It was barely eligible? I think it means legible. Legible. That's okay. Mistakes be happening. It seems as if he was hastily making his way to the boys' dormitory. Quiet like the grave. Best for business companions, as it were. Yulia chuckled as she peered over Zane's shoulder to the departing mute. The more you quote your mother, the more you'll likely become her. Yulia scoffed. Don't try to play that game with me, Zane. You know I despise her just as much as you do. I'll play her stupid game, and I'll achieve my grades so she can go play for the government. Regardless of what? Do you think our new companion can be trusted? We're going to be stuck in the same class with him for 6 months, at least. Zane questioned, glancing back as Nirav escaped view, his aura a faint white dot joining in a speckled sea of humanity. Him? Seems harmless enough. I do appreciate the silence, but for the amount of writing he does in that little notebook, he's a difficult one to read. Zane kept his glance behind him at the multitude of people wandering around after the conclusion of several classes, all swarming together like the sand they drove through to make it here. Just like with the dunes, if they had to force their way through the crowd, they would. Fortunately, everyone seemed to part around them as they approached, as if knowing it would be unsafe to get in their way. You enjoy narrations? But you have to watch the replay after work now. Oh, no worries, Toby. Thank you for popping in. I hope you have a wonderful work day. May it be a swift one and you can go home as soon as possible. That, however, did not prevent the numerous eyes from peering out of the countless windows, all seeming to focus on him. It felt agonizing. Even if the eyes weren't focusing on him, and it was merely Zane's mind playing tricks. I mean, Zaney Poo! You're literally walking next to an heiress to one of the most famous companies in the land, by the sounds of it. I don't think it's you they're staring at. To escort me to class? To escort me to class? I think you should be waiting out front a bit before 8 in the morning. Okay, no, it is Yulia. I wasn't sure who was talking for a hot minute. To escort me to class, I think you should be waiting out front a bit before 8 in the morning, understand? I do, however, I feel as if I will attract unwanted attention, he retorted bitterly, his eyes leering over her with a worried look. You already do, Zane. It's not like that'll change in a day. A boy waiting out front of the girls' dormitory every morning would be creepy, wouldn't it? He asked bluntly. Since when did you care about others' opinions of you? Got someone you're trying to impress? Yulia shot back, putting a hand on her hip. No, it's just... Zane couldn't gather a coherent argument against her demand, so he simply scowled and looked to the side. No one is going to call you creepy. Besides, I'm certain you've already heard much worse. Yulia patted Zane's cheek like he was a disobedient child, causing him to shudder slightly and shudder, and look away completely. 8 in the morning. Got it? He didn't nod, but the message was loud and clear. Yulia entered the girls' dormitory, walking away with a swagger Zane was used to observing. Leaving him alone, he flicked his hood on and made way for the boys' dormitory, not daring to look at any passerby. He took each step silently as he approached. Zane felt the vibrations of his surroundings, the whispers of all those he passed, the judgment and disdain for his mere existence. It nearly froze him in place. However, he managed to press on. Entering the dormitory he had visited earlier, there's no point in stopping now. Zane followed the same steps he did earlier, pressing the button to be granted entry to the dormitory, walking through the doors as they opened and, for the heck of it, attempting to sense the auras of those in the building. It was more precise, however, he wanted to try and sense the auras of purely those on ground level. Since he was going to be taught how to wield his powers by the college's demon teacher, he may as well practice honing what he could control. Closing his eyes, he attempted to focus his power, and once again felt as if his head had been hit with a bat. He wanted to try and identify a single aura. Anyone that inhabited this building he would soon call home. It pained him. It was frustrating. But eventually one stood out. As it approached him, a single white aura that was dim yet growing near. Ah, Zane, good to see you. He opened his eyes to see Mr. Underton standing before him, with what seemed to be a forced smile on his face, with Zane returning with a foul scowl. What do you want? Not used to the immediate bitterness from one of his students, Mr. Underton took a few moments to collect himself before searching through his bag and pulling out a keycard, offering it to Zane. Level 3, room 029. That's your room. You'll find that your luggage is already there. He took the keycard and inspected it thoroughly, observing the clear white plastic with a unique barcode, a small number print on it. He glanced at the nervous teacher and pocketed the card. Thanks. He made to walk past without any further conversation. How did you get along in your first class today? Zane ignored the question. Ascending the large spiral staircase, capable of fitting at least 6 adults in a row. That makes me picture, you know, in Hokuma's library, the big spiral staircase in the middle of Hokuma's library. That's what that made me think of. Alongside a few elevators, all currently in use. He walked up the staircase, taking heed not to bump into anyone else going up or down. He knew he was being rude to the teacher, but at this moment he needed to be alone, to get away from all the eyes. He had been the center of attention in a crowd of humans before, and every single time he was exposed and focused on, it pained him. Once he reached the 3rd floor, he rushed down the hallway past the litany of students, most of whom stopped talking the second they glanced at a demon. His hood doing little to hide what he truly was. He ignored them and side-glanced at every door, counting up to 0 to 9. He found it. Zane took a deep sigh, closed his eyes once again, taking care to sense primarily just the room he stood in front of. Nobody was inside. He retrieved his keycard, slapped it against the sensor above the handle, and once it beeped, the small red light turned to green. He opened the door and stepped inside. Once the door was shut behind him, locked automatically, Zane took what was perhaps the deepest exhalation he had ever done. His lungs almost desperate for air as he paused for a few seconds before breathing. A litany of students, yes, a litany of students. So many. For a few seconds while breathing normally. Inside was his suitcase, which sat in the middle of the room, surrounded by what was a skeleton of a bedroom. A single bed with navy blue sheets and pillows, accompanied by a simple wooden bedside table with an alarm clock set against the wall. There were a wooden desk and an ergonomic chair. Besides, it was a thin but tall wardrobe. Sorry. You're back! You got the time of your work meeting mixed up? Heck yeah! Wonderful. Enjoy the narration. A loitering of students. A loitering of littering students. The grey carpet and the white walls were plain but suitable. However, the window allowed Zane to gaze beyond the walls to the grand expanse of the world. Whoa. Despite not being extraordinary by any metric, Zane was completely enamored with the room he was to call his own. In the back of his mind, he knew it was probably identical to every other room in this building that was meant for students. He knew it was nothing special, but to him it was. He admired every little detail. Furthermore, he opened his wardrobe to find only a few coat hangers, a shelf just within reach meant for storage. He opened the drawer of his desk, finding it empty. A formally typed out note sat alone on his desk, which he promptly ignored to continue examining his room. Another door led to a small white-tiled bathroom with a mirror, sink, cupboard, and toilet. He opened a cupboard only a 4-pack of toilet paper and a can of air freshener sat within. Looking into the mirror, he took care to study his reflection. How long have those circles been under my eye? Have those circles under my eyes always been there? He lightly touched the dark circles, stretching his skin slightly as he moved and examined it. Deciding not to concern himself with his appearance, he stepped out of the bathroom and sat on the bed, trailing his hand across the quilt. The mattress was soft to sit to sit on. The quilt was fluffy and had a light scent of flowery detergent. He paused once more, closing his eyes and making sure he was indeed alone. I lost my place. Ba, 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 ba. Not a rerun. I do in fact actually live stream sometimes. Well done for catching me actually live. I try to stream 3 times a week, but sometimes last week I didn't stream because I had a busy time at work, but I should be back to streaming 3 times a week. But welcome, Dreamseeker. Found you by accident? Wonderful. That's the best way to find me. Just stumble into it. Open a browser and here I am. Where are we up to? Being absolutely certain, he let his face sink into the soft feather pillows. He felt strange. Like he was a passenger in some strange dream. Everything was so clean, so tidy, so peaceful. Was it all for him? As he pondered, his eyes began to feel heavy. Surprisingly, live from Birmingham. No, live from the Forbidden Library, silly Billy. Live. I do feel the need on Twitch to actually put live in the title sometimes now, because obviously I'm rerunning so much, and it's not like YouTube where I can just leave it. I have to like stop the Twitch, the rerun to be able to stream on Twitch. It's awkward, but it's wonderful. Come to think of it, I also found you by accident. The stupid ballad. Yeah, finding me by accident is the best way to find me. I mean, it'd be great if, like, any of my marketing helped at all. But, not that I do that much. It's funny to jump scare Twitch viewers. Haha, suddenly I'm live. I do wonder, sometimes I see that there's viewers on the reruns, and I'm like, I have to stop the rerun now. So I try to put a message in the chat being like, I'm going actually live soon, I've got to stop the rerun. Sorry guys, it just stops. Jump scare. I do wonder sometimes if I lose people to my thing. It was a rerun and I was surprised by your profound control of language. Oh my. What a lovely way to describe my reading. Thank you. I found you from a post on Reddit, so some advertising this. Yes. I got a good bit of traction from Reddit. Probably my most successful marketing has always been from Reddit. Zane's eyes felt as heavy as sandbags. It took him an unusually large amount of effort just to even open them. His vision was blurred, a bizarre mixture of white lights and endless darkness, barely forming anything tangible in his line of sight. His head pounded as if it was being slammed against a wall relentlessly. Zane attempted to get up, but his body refused to listen. It was as if he had been turned to stone. The lack of control over his body started to make Zane panic. That's when he noticed that he could barely inhale. Everything was numb. I found you here through a rerun in the middle of the night. Now you can finally catch me live. Yay! This is it's kind of the wonderful thing about the 24-hour stream. I'm really glad that I've like invested in it a little, because it's sort of, I've reached an audience that I never would be able to regularly by just streaming at my regular times. And then I try to change up what I'm reading on the rerun every month, so people still have like new content, even if it's like someone who never would catch my streams because they will never see me at that time. Hopefully they can still like pop in and enjoy a different book every now and again. We hope, we pray. It's been very fun. It's been so successful on Twitch, the reruns. And I'm very glad that some of you guys that have found me via the reruns have been able to watch the live streams too. So welcome. Hello. Suddenly there was a loud banging noise that echoed nearby, before a few subtle thumps grew louder as it neared his limp body. A faint voice spoke out to him, but he barely comprehended the words. Without even thinking properly, Zane somehow managed to very slowly roll onto his back and stare up to ascertain who was speaking. Alive. Filth. You have 2 days. The voice drifted in and out of clarity, but Zane recognized the man standing above him, the human who had brought Zane in a vain attempt to make money reselling the demon child. An investment. He was a poorly recommended piece of financial burden to a low-life businessman who didn't value the life of a demon. The last thing Zane recalled was this pathetic human forcing small capsules and dirty water into his mouth, the minimal amount of water barely sating his dried, hoarse throat. Simply from the colour of the roof alone, and the different attire the man was wearing, Zane could tell that they had moved to a new location. Maybe the man had found a buyer? Or maybe he just needed to escape the old apartment before he was made to pay for repairs. As Zane tried to ponder the possibilities, his mind began to drift away. He was used to having no control in his life, however. This was the first time in which he had zero control over his body. He hated it. He hated everything. But even that perception of hate soon became clouded and forgotten. As Zane closed his eyes, everything began spinning. His vision, his ideas, his body. Zane felt like he was flying, wind billowing across his face, ruffling his hair, and allowing him to stretch his limbs. What incredible feeling! Flying away from all worries and care, leaving everything behind. If only it were true. Zane opened his eyes. He was still lying on top of a soft bed, not a cold floor. The rapid visions of his past haunted him during his slumber, which made him grateful for waking. Zane sat up in the bed and looked around, his heightened demon senses allowing him easy visibility in the darkness of night. Looking at the alarm clock, the dimly lit light read 10:09 p.m. Nope, it's 9:15. At least for me, anyway. Perhaps the lack of rest during the trip, combined with the unusually soft bed, made him fall asleep unknowingly. He sighed, but there was a lack of suspected calm he imagined would accompany him. His eyes scanned the room. Nothing had moved since he laid down, thankfully. How dare you! Ugh, posture checks, bro. How dare you make me sit up? I was so comfy. Rude, honestly. No, I'm uncomfy. Well, now I'm in good posture, which should be comfy, but it's not. Why is good posture not comfy? It does say thanks in the description for the posture check. No thanks. I need to change that description to be like, no, don't press this button. Let me be comfy. Also, I need to make it more expensive. Brandy's natural state is shrimp. Yes! His suitcase remained idle in the center of the open space. He eventually had to unpack, as well as read that note that sat dormant on his desk. Why not now, as the moon reigned supreme in the sky, and where he would be most likely undisturbed? Any distraction to hopefully rid the plaguing nightmare that stuck in his mind. It didn't take long for Zane to unpack his belongings, thanks mostly to the fact that not much belonged to him. He saw how Yulia would neatly arrange her clothing back at home, and wasn't certain if he should do something similar. For now, he elected to hang up his singlets, jackets, and pants on the provided coat hangers, not knowing what else to do with them. He left his undergarments in the suitcase and slid it under his bed. Unpacking took barely any time at all. He briefly sat back down on his bed and looked around at his empty room. It was odd. Things still felt wrong. Strange, like he shouldn't be here. Everything was weird. He shook his head, stood up, and pocketed the note on his desk. Fucking read it already. I want to know what's on the note, Zane! Read the note! It's probably just like a little welcome to school, but I want to know! I want to know. Oh, I want to know. Whoa! Funny because pants mean something different in the UK. It's actually, it's got pants and pants. Pants and pants and pants and pants. Then decided to go get some fresh air. The roof seemed like a quiet place where he could be undisturbed. He scaled the remaining floor's staircases until he made it to the door to the roof, which was locked with a chain and padlock. A brief bout of hesitancy made Zane freeze on the spot, and but the pit in his stomach reaching for his heart made him ignore any repercussions. As quietly as he could, he clenched the chain and began to heat his hands with his powers. His eyes and hand began to glow a bright orange hue, reminiscent of steel heated in a forge. He kept his death-locked stare as the grey chain started to turn orange and begin to sizzle. After a couple minutes, the chain finally broke, remaining in Zane's hands as he slowly lowered it to the floor. Free to walk through to the rooftop, he did so, and immediately took a deep inhale of fresh air, of fresh, clean air. Walking to the fenced edges of the roof, mist wreathed in the surrounding air, the cool temperature giving Zane a barely significant sense of reprieve. A second deep inhale followed, as his racing heart began to settle, keeping his eyes closed as he merely let the mist consume him. An ache in his chest refused to subside. He clenched a hand to it with a painful scowl, unsure what to do with his head and chest. He could hear him, his laughter, his clubbing blows, his bare knuckles. He could see that face, the face that made Zane want to end the world. Shut up, get out! Zane, enough of this, you're dead. I know you're dead. I'm not dead, Zane. Oh, I see now. As the battle in Zane's mind raged on, amongst the mist, colours began to swirl and come together, as if being sucked in by a vacuum, absorbing any little manner of light around it. Zane could not see this occurring. His eyes held tightly closed as his chest and mind began to burn with searing pain. The white mist around him transcended into a vast rainbow, swirling between multiple colours into a silhouette. An unnatural force of energy permeated as the mist seemed to rise along with the silhouette, the light almost entirely subsiding as this being made of pure darkness took physical form. Get out of my head! It's all right, Zane. I'm here. Despite his mind aching and burning, he couldn't help but open his eyes. Stop it, accent. Go away. He couldn't help but open his eyes and look at where the voice came from. His eyes widened at the materialization of the one he had always heard in his mind. His head radiated pain, but the relief in his heart left his mouth agape. Permitted. 1 second. Had to do some throat clearing of a loud variety. Yumon? Zane attempted to take a step towards his friend, but his foot never found the floor, as he seemed to lunge forward unwillingly in his friend's embrace. I got you. Everything will be alright. Yumon's claw-like hands held Zane close to her, his head nestled at her collarbone, her pale skin sinking with the weight of his mind, burdening her. You're here? Zane sought confirmation, reassurance that this wasn't a continuation of his phantom nightmare. How long has it been? Too long. This past year you've been so preoccupied. I've never found the time to appear. You always fell asleep so quickly whenever you returned to your room. Despite the roughness accompanied by the large clawed hands, she stroked the back of Zane's head as a type of comfort. He neither leaned into it nor away, merely staring up at the towering figure, his eyes fixated on the glow of her fire-akin hair, glowing with such radiance that not even the stars above could compare. He's dead. He is. Ah, thank you, Toby. I'm glad it's chill. I think that's a bit of a goal. It's kind of an ASMR, I suppose. I'm accidentally an ASMR VTuber without actually being an ASMR VTuber. Zane closed his eyes and took a large inhale. Oshi reading an indie book, but must clear her throat ASMR. I wouldn't do throat clearing ASMR. I like to mute when I try to clear my throat too much, because I think it sounds gross. I think it would take you out of it a little bit. Zane closed his eyes and took a large inhale, filling his lungs before exhaling slowly, attempting to reset. He kept his eyes closed, reality settling in slowly, his situation clear. His life had taken its first major turn since he was found by the Edera family. Silent contemplation about his scenario made his mind a race, thinking about the responsibilities he now had to take on, not just for himself, but the one he was sworn to protect. First you were daydreaming, now you're actually dreaming about your past again. Interesting. He opened his eyes. They seemed to reflect the glow just as bright and orange as Yumon's. Why now? What's making all these memories take the forefront? Zane pondered as his eyes lingered on the floor of the roof, watching as the mist seemed to flow into Yumon, then swirl away, threatening to become one with the being. I thought escaping the mansion would be good for you, but you seem to think it's a burden. Your memories of life before the mansion have started reappearing now that you aren't there. Even if they are, escaping the mansion is a blessing, but I feel like I understand even less now. Zane shook his head as if trying to figure out a riddle in his head. Out of nowhere, we're told we have to attend this college? I don't even know what a college... I didn't even know what a college was until then. Yulia's mother warned me that they've made many enemies over the years, many in higher society and many below it. Yet I have no way to identify who could be a threat. I understand the idea behind keeping us a pair, but all that's going to do is just draw more unwanted attention, regardless of how dangerous I might be. Hello, Trent! What have you missed? You missed Colwyn adopting Trent. No, not Trent. You're Trent. Brain. When When Zane got in Colwyn's face, I made a kissy joke. Because every time a character does that, I make a kissy joke. What if he just pecked Colwyn on the cheek? So made some problematic slash fic in my head. And but then it's quickly changed as Colwyn is now adopting Zane. Because obviously he wants to like teach him things. So in my head, it's like Colwyn is like, I've had Zane for one day, and if anything happened to him, I would kill every one of them myself. I haven't had any of the lessons yet, but that is what I'm imagining their relationship's going to be like now. And now I'm meeting Yumon for the first time. Made the problematic slash fic even worse. Shut up. The problematic slash fic was for one moment, and now I put the problematic slash fic in the bin, and now Colwyn is dad. We love dad. He was scary, but we love dad. Well, my free time is over, so goodbye everyone. If the planets align, maybe we'll show up for next live. Otherwise, I'll have to watch the reruns. Well, have a lovely time with your non-free time. May it go quickly. May your meetings not be too boring. May someone say something silly and make you laugh. Have a good day. I fished the problematic slash fic from the bin and make it even more problematic. No! Leave the problematic slash fic in the bin, okay? That's where it deserves to be. We don't carry on with the student teacher slash fic, okay? No. Leave it in the bin. Leave it in the bin. They're dad and son now. Yumon hushed Zane, his rapid-fire questions evidence of fears he could not alleviate. You need not focus on Yulia. Just for a moment, focus on yourself. Stop and think what you might feel right now. What do you mean, Yumon? He hasn't thought of himself in several thousand years. He's only thought of survival. Poor baby. Poor baby. Zane blinked a few times, feeling an odd strain. He tilted his head to the side and cracked his neck. He glared forward through Yumon for a short moment, observing the mist rising and lowering unnaturally, moving at the whim of the demonic presence on the rooftop. He took the moment to ponder her question, trying to readjust, thinking purely about himself, breaking down the feelings he just navigated. He stared blankly and said the first few words that came to mind. I'm angry. I'm confused. He muttered while slowly shaking his head. He brought his hands up, then looked at them, unable to cease their endless shaking. My life has been plucked from one chapter and thrown into the next with no guide. I don't know what to do. Yumon listened carefully as her body finally became fully corporeal. The weight of her falling and allowing her feet to take place on the roof beneath her, she tilted her head as she listened, her hair seeming to flow naturally, almost as if a phantom wind blew through and made her fire-like hair flow as if it were burning ash, occasionally falling. Where are you now, Zane? His eyes squinted as he felt confusion. I'm at Concord College? A small smile tugged at Yumon's thin lips. Within Concord College, where do you find yourself? On the roof of the boys' dormitory? He replied in a monotone drawl, not understanding the point of her question. Yes, you are. Take a look around. Zane blinked rapidly for a moment, before glancing to the right. looking beyond the rooftop to the buildings that sat opposite, the speckled lights from small rooms creating a scenic view he had noticed when he stepped onto the roof. He took a few lumbering steps over to the edge, the fencing stopping anyone from tripping and tragically finding their end. As the fencing blurred the view beyond, was all that Zane could focus on, finding a small amount of solace as the night air breeze whisked his hood off his head and blew through his hair. A deep inhale of the cool, fresh air helped settle his raging heart. The view of sprawling hills, with hundreds of trees behind interspersed tall buildings, illuminated a colourful trance. Made Zane want to capture this image and keep it framed in his mind. When was the last time you were allowed to make such decisions? Newmon asked knowingly, not expecting an answer, just wanting to help clarify the situation. Life has no guide, Zane. And although this may not be the freedom you sought, freedom was always a lie from the start. Heavy footsteps found themselves next to Zane, a brush of a pointed tail licking the bottom of Zane's leg. Freedom isn't something afforded to demons. No, instead, demons need to work with what they're given. And look at what you've been given, Zane. He glanced from the wide open view to Yumon, her fiery hair and eyes standing out in the night, his eyes focusing on hers like a moth to a flame. A lamp! I'm out. Yumon tilted her head and smiled at Zane. You are. He faced forward again, but paid greater attention to the fence instead of the view, his fingers clenching at the parted holes of the wire chain fence. Then why does it still feel like a cage? The tall demonic woman's lips were now a flat line. She watched Zane, concerned that he might rip down this fencing here and now. She watched him closely, the narrowing of his eyes, the stiffening of his mouth. His irises deepened in hue, reflecting her own orange eyes, more accurately now, almost like they were also on fire. Because demons will always be caged in some way. If we weren't, we'd have the whole world in our hands. Zane thought about her words. It reminded him of something Corwin mentioned, about being stronger than humans and angels. Demons will always be caged in some way. Yes, the amount of power demons wield frightens all of them. That's probably why they tried extermination, and for those who remained being locked away in a cage. Human responded aloud, placing a claw on the flimsy chain wire fence. Will I ever get out? He asked coldly, little emotion paving the way for the most sincere question of the night. Yumon lowered her claw and looked at Zane with a sad smile, her tail lowering and nearly brushing against the rooftop. Maybe. Nothing is certain, Zane. This isn't what you wanted, but it's what you've been given. At the very least, you can make choices here. That's a far cry better than before, huh? Yumon's words sparked a small amount of hope in Zane's chest, giving him the reprieve necessary to take a deep, unfaltering breath. So this is the new real. Yumon smiled, and despite the fact he muttered that question to himself, she stroked his cheek with her hand and answered, "For now. As long as you don't turn a blind eye to what may come, anything can happen. The bad, the good. Zane smiled back at the phantom darkness that offered him solace, the one thing he held most dear in this cruel life. New challenges were on the horizon. Figuring out what it truly meant to be a demon, deciding what he would actually want to do was a job once he turned 21. Discovering a life worth living. This was the new real. Ah, that is a sweet scene. Very curious about what kind of entity Yumon is. Obviously she's some kind of demon. Do demons all have a spirit demon? We don't know. I'm very excited to find out. She's very nice though. I'm glad that someone can give Zane a hug. Cause Yulia ain't doing it. Oh wait, no, he did get a hug at the start as well. But she's not here anymore. Mom had to go home. Mom had to drop off the kids and go home. Ugh. Alright, let's have a bit more water before we start the next one. Do spirit demons have spirit demons, or is it spirit demons all around? A spirit demon of a spirit demon of a spirit demon of a spirit demon. I don't know. I feel like she's a special kind of entity to our special little boy. But who knows? We have Corwin, who's gonna teach us these things. Chapter 3. Zane hadn't anticipated much excitement on his first day under Corwin's tutelage. But even he couldn't deny the overwhelming monotony of it all. Mom needed to get that No! Mom didn't want to leave them. Mom was like, I'm sorry, but your actual mother's my boss, and she says I have to go home now. And I can't stay and fuss over you kids your entire time at college. Your mum wants me to pick up the cigarette-flavored milk on the way home. That's what the 3 students deserved for not completing their entrance exams properly. Yulia, in particular, seemed to wear her frustration like a heavy cloak, her complaints echoing in Zane's ears as he escorted her to class. Yulia's parents weren't particularly pleased either, and made intentions to speak to the principal, but admitted there was likely nothing that could be done. An extra 6 months won't kill you, was her mother's exact wording. And I really did enjoy that cigarette-flavoured milk. Her expression fluctuated between annoyance and boredom throughout the day, while Narav and Zane remained very stone-faced and uninterested. Corwin knew this as well, as he handed out different textbooks. He always added that everything we've spoken about will be mentioned in these, making the class somewhat redundant in Zane's eyes. Naming the character Zane has made me imagine him being played by Billy Zane, which makes it... There's a picture of him right in front of you, though! We have... Look at the boy! The boy! This is our protag boy. This is the baby. He's so tough and scary, but he's also a baby. Protect a baby. Edgy baby. Billy Zane in a way. If that's how you want to picture it. All characters in the eye of the reader. Just Billy Zane in a hoodie. Once the old bell above the door rang and both demons cringed through the irritating sound, Only Narab stood up to depart, sliding his newly acquainted textbooks into his backpack with little care. He cast a fleeting glance at his classmates, noticing the tension thickening. Corwin glared at Zane, whilst he and Yulia looked between each other. Narab attempted to make himself invisible as he strolled through the classroom and left. The edging baby demon boy did not have Billy Zane influence, can confirm. Author confirmation. But you can think whatever you want. You can't control the readers. They'll think whatever they want. You can have a perfectly wonderful illustration on your book, and they will still sometimes picture something entirely different. Proven here. Dear any authors who might be watching this, you cannot control your reader's imagination. Sometimes it will overtake anything you put in the book. I'll admit I've kind of done that in some books. When I've read, like, a character's name and they've not been described yet, my brain puts a picture there. And then when they get to the description and the description's not what I pictured, I'm just like, well, I'm going to ignore that description. That's not what I've got in my head. That doesn't count anymore. Could have been worse. You could have named him Ray. Made me think of Ray Romano. Just how it is. It's just how it is to be an author. Okay, so I just thought Billy Zane isn't the same as Billy Zab. Just wondering why. What's so bad about the bad guy from Karate Kid? Well, some crossed wires going on here. A few seconds passed before Zane and Yulia returned their attention to Corwin, his eye meeting Yulia's. You'll need to leave your friend behind once again, heiress. Yulia rose from her seat, but remained rooted to the spot. Zane is supposed to remain with me, she insisted, her voice unwavering but ignored. This won't take more than an hour, if that. But for now, you must leave, Corwin said bitterly, his yellow eye glowing amidst the slowly bubbling rage. Yulia's eye twitched, the utter discontent leaving her with little to retort with. 1 hour, Yulia. I'll come and find you in 1 hour, Zane spoke calmly, looking up at Yulia with a look of trust. She sighed. I'll be in the library. These stupid textbooks aren't going to read themselves. And packed everything away into her bag, shooting Cornwall a final distrustful glare. She stomped out of the classroom. As soon as the door closed behind her, the room seemed to darken, as if clouds had consumed the sun the instant the two demons were left alone. The air seemed to get cooler, too. The whole day this room felt fixed at a perfect temperature, which was strange considering there was no air conditioning. Magic air conditioning? Can I get magic air conditioning too? I want one. Corwin drew in a sharp breath through his nose, the sound echoing in the silent room as he lazily dragged a wooden chair across the floorboards with deliberate slowness. He positioned the chair in front of Zane's desk and slouched as he settled into the seat, tilting his head until his neck released a quiet pop. I'd be happy with non-magic air conditioning, to be honest. Yeah, me too. I read a ton of action books where I automatically imagine the MC is Jason Statham and have to pretend he's bald when the description gives him hair. Wonderful. Wonderful. Does he have the accent every time? You didn't take any notes today. I don't exactly have the means to. Corwin dragged a finger across the desk, staining his fingertips with remnants of age. And you have no bag to carry your books, no stationery nor means to carry such. The Edria family treat you with equal love and compassion as their heiress, don't they? The absurdity of his words made Zane scoff as he glanced at his new textbooks. You want answers, I presume? He nodded. Yes, but before that, I have a different question for you. Why don't you cover your eye? His inquiry hung in the air for a few moments, catching Zane off guard, his brow furrowing in confusion. Come again? People have asked me Zane like One Direction before. So Billy Zane's actually a bit nicer than that, I think. That's insane. That's funny. Corwin lightly traced the edges of his grey half-face mask, the hollow eye hole drawing attention. I wear this. The heiress wears an eye patch, for what I only presume is an injury. But why don't you? That's a good point. You know what? That's a good question now I think about it. Despite the question being clear, it still got Zane off guard. It was more information, whether meaningless or not, that Corwin wanted to extract from him. Why was the constant retort he had in his mind? Because it's proof of survival. Corwin nodded, his interest piqued. How did you get it? Zane's eyes flared up upon the question. The lack of any personal regard from Corwin had left him stunned and annoyed. You first. You first. He spat in return, not wanting to explain any more about his own life without something in return. But Zane didn't expect Corwin to give any sort of answer, yet, to his surprise, Corwin reached up and, with a click, removed his mask, revealing the charred, scarred remnants of his face. The sight was both shocking and sobering. Countless black burn lines reached around the entirety of the right side of his face. As expected when looking at his mask, there was simply a hole where his eye should be. The lack of yellow and white, a fearful sight as he placed the mask on Zane's desk. Angels claim to be the saviors of humanity, Corwin began, his voice a monotone echo in the quiet room. They wish to liberate and save, and will do anything to uphold that concept. His lone eye fixed on Zane, seeking some manner of agreement. Have you ever come face to face with an angel whilst serving the heiress and her family? A brief pause kept his answer at bay. He couldn't help but look at the damaged side of his teacher's face. He contemplated how honest he should be. Being confronted with such a sight almost made Zane let his guard down. He didn't know if there was trust to be had, but at the very least, being a demon who has had his fair share of negative experience with angels, perhaps he could be honest here. I've seen many, but there was one. He came to the mansion. Well, he stalked us, to be more literal. I remember clearly what he threatened, what he did. Zane's gaze seemed to drift as he recalled the event in his mind, his eyes glancing over nothing in particular. So you're familiar with their hypocrisy. Corwin's yellow eye peered into Zane's white one. Their scars were not all the same, but inflicted because they were the same. I didn't get this from an angel. Zane saw the confusion. Then intrigue sparked in Corwin's expression. The first real bout of emotion he had expressed. Why do you want to know? He asked in frustration. Corwin leaned back in the wooden chair, the creaking of the weight on the floorboards causing Zane to glance down for a split second. "'Cause I believe it will help me understand the type of person you are, Zane. What kind of demon you are." He felt the weight of the situation upon him. What type of demon was he? That was never something he had ever thought about. Did it even matter? What would change in Corwin's eye should reveal what happened? Should he reveal what happened? Should I tell him, Eamon? No voice echoed. Nothing offered. Any reprieve to Zane? Nothing offered any reprieve to Zane. Seconds arrived and passed without a single word. Zane was alone. The decision was his alone. He sighed. Fine. One second. Zane's frail body lay slumped against the rotting wall. His arms were now raised and bound tighter than before, with the man feeling the need to tighten his restraints. This place was even more dilapidated than the last building, the old architecture crumbling to pieces. Zane had been meticulously waiting, plotting, ever since he arrived. Escape was within reach. He just needed to wait until the man fell asleep. After what felt like an eternity, the sound of snoring began to echo throughout the decaying structure. He knew that the man usually snored so loudly. So, with how quiet he was right now, Zane could tell he was in the furthest room away. Good. Zane had overheard the man's most recent phone call. He'd found a buyer. Unfortunately for the businessman, this product wasn't going to be available for much longer. Zane exhaled deeply. It was time to make his escape. The first step was to muster every ounce of strength to yank the pins from the walls and free the chains. He pulled tightly, the cuffs around his wrists straining. Nothing. Moving as quietly as possible, Zane shuffled on his feet, crouching. He pressed the soles of his feet against the wall and slowly started pushing himself up. He had to keep his grip on the chains tight, and his arms extended to maintain tension. He couldn't afford for the chains to slacken and fall. Pain radiated through his arms, but he managed to hold on, inching his way up the wall and tightening his grip on the chains the instant they loosened. Now, crouching on the wall, the pins near his feet, straining. Glancing down, Zane saw they had shifted slightly from the tension. He needed to pull them out in one powerful move. Kneeling as low as he could, he briefly let the chains loosen, before launching himself upward, extending his legs and yanking the chains with all his might. The pins ripped free from the wall, and Zane crashed to the ground, the chains landing alongside him with a thunderous rattle. The shock of hitting the cold floor sent waves of pain through Zane's entire body. It took a moment for him to realize he had succeeded. Though still bound by the cuffs and chains, he was no longer tethered to one place. Then he noticed the snoring had stopped. His eyes shot open. He had to move quickly. Fueled by adrenaline, Zane scrambled to his feet and made for the hallway. But he knew the man would be... Hey! The man was already at the end of the mouldy hallway, stumbling, a mixture of drool and vomit staining his chin. The man charged at Zane, who lunged out of the way and swung the chain connected to his right wrist. It struck the man in the gut, causing him to double over in pain. Hydrate! Okie dokie. Good thinking, X Zero Zone. done the hydrate. I can get this off my head now. Zane darted for the hallway once again, but felt a yank as the man grabbed one of the flailing chains. "You're not going anywhere, demon!" Zane fell back, then struck the man with a bicycle kick, hitting him square in the chin. The man stumbled backwards, but still held the chain. Rising to his feet, Zane tried to kick the man's hand, but his foot was caught. Despite his inebriation, the man had enough wherewithal to catch the weak kick and fling Zane back into the wall. He hit the wall hard, leaving an indent before crumpling to the ground, wincing in pain. The man turned, his eyes filled with rage. "You belong to me, brat!" Zane, on his hands and knees, began wrapping the chains around his arms. As the man lunged again, Zane drived through his leg and attempted to sprint down the hall, although it more resembled a limp. He saw the open door to the bedroom where the man had been sleeping, empty bottles strewn across the floor, with one shattered into sharp shards of varying size. There was a window. He didn't know how high the room was. He didn't care either. This was his best chance. As he dashed through the hallway to the room, one of the chains around his wrist snagged under the door. He was yanked back violently. He frantically pulled at the chain, but the man barged in and stomped on it, forcing Zane to faceplant mere centimeters from the shattered glass. The man knelt, grabbing a large, sharp piece of glass, and held it close to Zane's eye. "You try run again and I'll kill you. I'm so sick and tired of this game. You'll either be sold tomorrow or die now." Zane went limp, feigning surrender. The man, believing Zane had given up, loosened the chain from under the door. The instant it was free, the man tried to drag Zane to his feet. Zane grabbed a handful of glass shards and flung them at the man's face. The man screamed as the glass lodged in his eyes, instinctively reaching for his face. Zane tried to get up, but the man, still clutching the large pieces of glass, swung at him. It was too close to dodge. The glass slashed down Zane's right eye. His scream of anguish was a sound he had never made before. Blood poured, staining his hands. When he heard the rivaling growls of the man, everything turned from red to black. It engulfed him. His body no longer felt like his own. This autopilot was a force that willed his body to move and act, dulling every other sense. It was as if he saw the world through a dirty, hazy window. Surrounded by fog, touch, smell, hearing, all dampened. Only a faint ringing reverberated in his mind. He felt himself leap, heard a crash of glass, then a cool sensation reminiscent of water washing over his face. The ache in his body turned numb. His back throbbed as if a knife had been plunged into his spine and then removed. He wasn't using his feet. All he felt was water, a dull pain in his back. Was he free? Had he escaped the chains? When Zane regained consciousness, he was in a whirlwind of pain. Cool water trickled from above. It was dark and hazy. A faint glow from above, the only source of light, until a figure replaced the light with a faint teal glow. Someone was kneeling over him as he lay on the cold, wet pavement. He had long since surpassed his limits and could not muster the strength to sit up, let alone attempt escape. His senses fading, he didn't even know what this person looked like, or if they were talking to him. He fell into a deep slumber, wary if another cage was bound for his future. Multiple cages, maybe. I mean, the next one's a lot nicer. At least we know it's a mansion, the next one. And then the next one's a college. Zane's eyes remained fixed on the desk before him, his mind adrift in painful memories. Recounting the past hurt more than he had anticipated. His left yellow eye had darkened almost to the point of being completely orange. The scar stretching down his right eye felt as if it was stinging, and a burning sensation that felt akin to flame. What's the next thing you remember? I was in an alleyway. There was no glass, and I had no strength to stand. He muttered, "Life is a cage. You're stuck, buddy." "Yeah, he is. But at least he has a nice spirit demon to give him hugs." He muttered, one of his hands clenching into a fist. "I saw a teal eye." So that'd be Yulia, I take it. There was another bout of silence that hung in the air like a bad smell. Corwin wanted to pry further into the machinations of Zane's mind. "To me, it sounds like your powers emerged after your eye was cut. The darkness that naturally festers in a demon unleashed in a moment of crisis and saved you. As well, it's most likely what saved your eyesight. It's a shame it couldn't recover the yellow, but I'm sure having 20/20 vision is much preferred." Zane blinked. Corwin was right. He had no difficulty seeing, even after having his eyes sliced in such a manner. He's never had an eyesight issue, but the scar and lack of yellow were enough to show that he was damaged goods. "What are you trying to say?" "Every time you blacked out, what was the first thing you saw when you woke up from each occurrence?" Teal. A teal eye. Yulia's teal eye. The few times he experienced his blackout, it was always Yulia's teal eye that was the first thing in his vision. He didn't know why, how, or even what Yulia saw before he awoke. But those were all questions he attempted to ignore in the hope of never experiencing a blackout again. And she has to be the key. The key? Zane pondered. What does that even mean? The thing that ties you down and keeps you in check. Corwin scuffed his beard with a hand and looked off to the side table. "You're lucky. For a demon to have no control over their powers, you're fortunate to have someone who can anchor you. Otherwise, your power would overwhelm and turn you into something completely different." "Who can anchor me?" Corwin nodded. "Indeed," he huffed. "Which means having her here might be a good idea." "And just after you told her to leave?" The teacher smirked. "I suppose we'll begin tomorrow then. She will get her wish after all." Corwin gestured to the door, indicating for a student to depart. "Leave your books behind for today." Zane didn't move from his seat, looking down at the mask on his desk as if waiting for something else to happen. "Oh, right, you wanted my story." Corwin picked up his mask and slotted it back, another clicking sound indicating it was firmly in place. What's the best way to talk about this? Corwin stroked his beard for a few seconds, mulling over the words in his mind, trying to establish just what exactly he should share. "You don't have to tell me everything. I'm just curious about how you got yours. That's it." Zane decided to clarify his prior declaration of "you first" was more of a show of defiance rather than a genuine attempt to seek knowledge. But he was honest about being curious. "Angels, boy. Angels." He scowled with a vicious tone. "They suspected me of harboring orphaned demon children or something along those lines." Isn't that a good thing? Should a demon not be looking after other demon children? But I guess this is the hypocrisy they were talking about. claimed to have seen me buying food for some and assumed I was sheltering them at the same time when some were meant to be sold at auction but went missing. His words immediately struck a chord with Zane, who sat straighter and gave Corwin full focus and attention. About 8 of them surrounded me and made their accusations. I fought, but even against 8, I didn't stand a chance. My arm was the first to go, courtesy of a light blade. He moved the stump that remained of his left arm, a phantom limb desperate to be corporeal once more. I went down, probably from blood loss, awoke strapped to a chair. They expected me to be dead soon, so they wanted to use me as a test subject while there was still breath in my lungs. Test subject? For what? Corwin tapped his mask and grimly smiled. Brightfire is what they called it. Somehow they discovered a way to harness the energy of light and fuse that energy with flame, a pure white light that danced in the palm of their hands like fire. Like fire. Corwin looked to one of the windows at the side of the room. Despite the curtains being drawn, it appeared as if he was attempting to peer beyond it, beyond the confines of this cold room. I can still hear my eye bubbling as it melted. There was a large round of silent dread. Zane didn't know what to say, accidentally muttering aloud. How did you escape? Corwin smirked. That is a story for another time. Go, tell the heiress she's welcome to remain for our session so long as she observes, with nothing more until called upon. What Zane wanted to inquire further about what was being called upon. He elected to leave for now, simply nodding and standing up from his desk. So you know, if Yulia is to observe these sessions, there's a chance she will see things she may not like. Zane heeded his warning and contemplated for a few seconds before walking over to the door, looking back only briefly to say, there's not much she hasn't already seen, before departing the room. Surprising, Zane was the presence of the quiet boy Narav, who had made himself scarce as soon as the bell rang. He raised a brow at the boy, who was leaning against the wall, waiting for something. Once the door shut behind Zane, Narav looked towards him, kicked off the wall, approaching with a note extended in his hand. Still need that tour? As he attempted to think of a rebuttal, Zane realised that he indeed had no idea where the library was. Oh, Zaney Poo. What's his deal? You're still insistent on that? Narav stared at Zane for a few confusing, awkward seconds before jotting down a few words on the same page and showing him a new message. Yes or no? He's not taking this seriously at all, is he? Zane huffed. Fine. Lead the way. Zane predicted that Yulia would be both pleased and slightly annoyed at the prospect of joining him for an additional hour every day after class with Corwin. As his prediction was spot on when he shared the news with her in the college library, she reacted just as expected, her voice a bit too loud amidst the hushed whispers of the quiet shuffling pages. Zane had hoped for a more subtle reaction, but subtlety was not a word in Yulia's vocabulary. The surrounding students and the rather bored-looking girl behind the front desk gave them a few curious stares, but nothing too alarming or unwarranted. Narav had taken Zane on a brief but concise tour of Concord College's sprawling campus. The tour, devoid of words, relied heavily on clear and prominent signage that marked each building. Narav's silent guide ended at the entrance of the library, where he nodded once before leaving Zane to navigate the rest on his own. After Yulia's enthusiastic yet frustrated rant, they decided to depart and find food for the night, a routine that seemed destined to become tradition over the next 6 months. The college canteen offered a variety of pre-made meals, fresh meals, or ingredients that were easy to prepare in their rooms. While the quality was nothing to write home about, especially compared to the high standards of the mansion where Zane had honed his fairly limited culinary skills, it was sufficient. Yulia grumbled about the packed gruel, as she called it, but eventually found something she could settle for. Zane, on the other hand, was intrigued by the fresh produce available and considered cooking a proper meal at some point. Perhaps he could invite Yulia over to share some home-cooked meal. It might lift her spirits. However, his train of thought made him realize that he didn't know when or if he was allowed into other dorms. It was possible that the note he had ignored on his desk held the answers. The note you still haven't read! Ah! If I had a nickel for every unread note that I have come across in my last 2 streams, I'd have 2 nickels. It's not much, but it's surprising it's happened twice. He truly believed that setting foot in the girls' dormitory would likely invite countless death stares. Even within the boys' dormitory, Zane was already subject of numerous glares. His trip to the canteen made it clear that many students were now aware of his presence. Zane did his best to ignore the curious and often hostile eyes as he ascended the staircase to the 3rd floor. Upon reaching his door, he found Narav standing there, a silent sentinel. Is there a problem with the door? He asked, only to follow Narav's pointed finger and see graffiti that marked it. Crude text covered his door, bringing back memories of a fuel stop incident. The words were clear and brutal. Ugh, kids, bro. That's such an accepting college you go to. Whee! Billy Zane has to read these ones. Zane's face darkened as he read every word, but glancing to his left, he saw an outreached, handwritten note reading, "I promise none of it was me." Zane could not but smirk. Despite knowing him for only a short time, Zane believed Narav wouldn't bother with such petty threats. "I believe you." Narav nodded in response, tapped his keycard and entered his room. Zane did the exact same, relieved to find his room untouched by the cruelty outside. So, if you're going to learn how to control darkness, I suppose it was only a matter of time. Don't insult Billy Zane. Billy Zane crush Purity Door! / go into Pretty Door, where Billy Zane will take a puny nap. The faintest visage of Yumon appeared before him, her arms crossed, a smirk on her face. This was how Zane was used to seeing her, half corporeal, invisible to the world, visible only to him, and lacking in actual physical presence. I knew it was necessary, but it begs the question, why did you never teach me how to wield it? Zane asked, looking up at Yumon. Because if it wasn't already obvious, I'm not exactly a normal demon. I can only utilize a subpar amount of darkness compared to regular shadow dwellers. Not nearly enough to warrant teaching you. I see she's a shadow dweller, so she's like a different variety of demon that just hangs around. Corwin kept implying that any demon my age not in control of darkness is dangerous. As in, I should be a mindless beast. Zane emphasized the word beast, looking down at his hands, curling it into a fist. The darkness should have consumed me by now, especially with everything I've been doing. How haven't I lost control more often? Surely it's not because of Yulia. Zane's mind raced, thinking back to the times he had lost control. Every blackout ended with Yulia's teal eye and his vision. Sometimes he was standing, but more often than not, he was lying down with an ache in his spine. It would be almost storybook worthy if it were just the heiress keeping her dark night in check, but no. She isn't the only reason you've stayed in control all this time. You? That's right. Yours truly. Ever since we met, I've been slowly absorbing portions of your darkness. It helps that I'm literally always in your presence. She admitted, her words striking a deep chord with Zane. Why have you never told me this before? He asked, voice tinged with frustration. Yuan shrugged, looking away with a sly smile. In my time, demons saw the act of absorbing darkness from one another without express consent as a violation of sorts. It's not something they talked about or ever did. Her expression softened into sadness as she recalled a terrible memory, wrapping her arms around herself. But I started doing it after I watched you have a nightmare for the first time. I saw you writhing, scratching your wrists in your sleep. I could sense your aura being overwhelmed with darkness, so I took some. And you slept, and you began to sleep soundly. Zane looked down at his wrists. Faint lines of long since healed scars were still etched into his skin beneath his gloves. The dull white lines, a constant reminder of memories he had painstakingly tried to forget. He slipped his gloved gauntlets off and tossed them across the room to his bed, and took a long, shuddering breath as he glanced up at Yumon. I thought absorption could only be done through physical contact. You don't come out much because of the toll it takes, right? How did you... Yumon bent over, so she was face to face with Zane, a smile, indulgence on her lips. It does take a toll, you're right. But if you think about it... She pointed a clawed hand toward the unnaturally red gemstone hanging around its neck. There's always a part of me that is connected to you. Of course. Zane reflexively reached up and pinched the necklace between his thumb and index finger. He looked up at Yumon in awe, then smiled in gratitude. From the start, you've always looked out for me. She nodded. Always. The necklace felt warm to the touch, as if a hand had enveloped his own, reminding him that even on the coldest nights, the gemstone would always provide warmth. And I think we're gonna finish there, because we just got to the start of a new chapter. We're nearly halfway through the book already! 49%. It's only gonna take 4 streams, bro. Which is wild. Especially compared to, like, how long Don Quixote's taken. I think that'll be all for today. Way shorter than Don Quixote. Way shorter, but that's fine. But I said that too. And I'm the Vtuber. Therefore, I did it first. And you have no say in them. I could just delete your comment. That I said it first. Reading a good book that doesn't take 50 plus streams? How is that even possible? I know, we literally just entered the quarter mark of Don Quixote last time, so it's going to take about 40 streams to get through Don Quixote. This one's going to take 4. Don Quixote is literally 10 times the size. Reading a story that doesn't digress into a separate short story every other chapter. Wild. It is a light novel, Trent, and we love it. It's nice to have something short for once. I think because I haven't done many, like indies and light novels before, it's quite refreshing to have something small. But that is, like I say, all I have for you for today. Thank you so much, Evan, for coming. Thank you, Evan, in chat. Thank you, anyone looked. Thank you, anyone watching the VOD. I really appreciate coming and hope you enjoyed, no matter which way you decide to enjoy it. If you have not already, I'd highly appreciate it if you could leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. And if you've done that, if you're on Twitch, give the channel a cheeky follow. That'd be lovely. If you've done that, consider Discord. If you've done that, I don't really do much other social media. I'm really sorry. I should, but I hate it. I hate social media. I do TikTok more, but that's mostly because TikTok is a really good free editing app for shorts. It's one of the few places I can do like auto-generated captions without having to pay for it. But anyway, no, you really shouldn't. Yeah, TikTok. I do the TikToks. I will be back tomorrow with Limba's company. We'll be finishing Canto 7. How wild is that? We only have 2 cantos and then we'll be caught up. But then Canto 10 will eventually come out. So there'll be 3 cantos. But I don't know if I'll be caught up before Canto 11 comes up, you know? It means I'll have to start Lobotomy Company. Or doing Ruiner mods. That's future me's problem. Brownie, you're old, but surely too old to TikTok. I thought you had to be 21. Don't tell them, I'll get banned. Don't let them know that I'm old, too old for TikTok. I'm not. I'm under 21, honest. Nah, I like TikTok. TikTok has a lot of fun, nerdy things. And it makes me happy. I've got a lot of Kamen Rider stuff on TikTok recently, actually. It's wonderful. For my shill, if you did enjoy me reading and you have an Audible account, I have 2 audiobooks that I have read from a series of a man called PD Ball asked me to read his series for Audible. So you can get an audiobook narrated by me on there. There's 2 of them currently. I'm working on the 3rd. I'm 40% of the way through the 3rd book at the moment. So hopefully that, I don't know if that'll be out this year or maybe early next year, given how long it takes to get through these books, but it's on the way. And that is everything. Thank you so much, Em, for coming. I'll be back tomorrow. I had fun. I hope you had fun. This has been Brownie Westmith, live in the Library. Goodbye.